Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the people it's reaching, and when I started, the objective was really to simplify spirituality and guide people on their journey. And I love that this podcast is doing that. Thank you for allowing us to guide you on your journey, for all the messages we get, all the suggestions. Thank you. If anyone does have a suggestion on any topic you want us to cover, please let us know. We love the feedback. My name is Nimesh Radia. I am a Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. I love what I get to do. I get to guide people to truly be their authentic selves, to shine their light, to release all the layers they've been holding on to. And I really do feel like now is a time we've been pushed to be our authentic selves, to connect with our gifts, connect with who we are. And I love guiding people to it. So if my voice resonates, please reach out. This podcast wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful co-host introducing the amazing, the stunning, the hero extraordinaire and published author, Stacey Brown. Stace, you know I got to do it. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, friends. It's so good to be back. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from around the world. I'm also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And I recently published my first book, Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender, available on Amazon and Audible. Really looking forward to this episode today and hoping that we can pour into you, our listeners, and give you everything that you might need from this episode.
Thanks, Stace. So, as I've said many times, with this podcast, we don't plan, we don't script anything. A lot of the time, even the topics, we'll feel the current energy and we'll pick a topic. Sometimes we'll pick a topic in advance, but usually, especially now, we've been picking the episode based on what we feel energetically. And there's so much planetary activity right now, and it's like it's planets in retrograde, and there's been so many shifts through this month of March that a lot of the conversations we've been having are really around people feeling stuck, and trusting in divine timing and recognizing when we're meant to just let go and just trust and let the universe take the reins. And that's why today we're going to talk about when life feels stuck and trusting in divine timing. And in terms of the slowing down, the feeling stuck is part of our spiritual journey, right? It's like our programming as humans is always take action, move. It's like if we're standing still, then we're not progressing. And sometimes we do have to slow down, right? And sometimes the universe forces us to slow down. And this, for me, this period, we went through so many shifts. Mercury's in retrograde, Venus is in retrograde. We've just had we're recording this before the equinox, but we just had the equinox by the time I release it. There's a lot happening. And this sort of period for me is a period where we've just got to just let go, just trust and actually realize that sometimes we need time to integrate. We need it's our invitation to slow down and just realign. But it is important to just kind of check in with yourself and hold on a second. Am I slowing down because this is what I need to do, or is it a resistance? Is it some form of self-sabotage? And we'll talk about that. But ultimately, you have the answers inside you. I know for me, I get frustrated at slowing down. But I do know, and I'm trying to intentionally now slow down. But there's also a feeling, and me and Stacey were talking about it beforehand, of apathy, right? It's just like energy. It was like, it's almost like at times my get up and go has got up and left, right? It's that kind of, so it's just sitting with yourself and recognizing that this is part of your journey. And certainly, I never used to look at the planetary activities that much, but I'm finding I'm looking at it much more now because I feel it does impact me. Especially the moon cycle, near the full moon, I do get tired. So there's no right or wrong, and we'll talk through some of the phases of what this feels like. But there isn't a right or wrong, right? But there is you trusting your intuition, and actually sometimes it's okay to slow down. Sometimes it's okay to take time to integrate, and just trust that whatever's coming for you will find you, and whatever's not for you will miss you, right? And it's that. But this is the sort of time you've still got to make sure you meet in the universe halfway by having strong self-care. So we'll dive much more into this topic. I mean, it feels really appropriate for the energy right now, and certainly, me and Stacey were talking about beforehand how we're feeling, but also how a lot of people are feeling right now. So I'm going to hand over to Stacey to ask her what she feels about this topic. But let me ask you, listener, are you feeling stuck, or are you trusting the process? And we've spoken to some people, and they're in full flow. So wherever you're feeling is perfect for you. But having that conversation with yourself and being honest with yourself about you feeling stuck and how do you feel about trusting divine timing is a beautiful place to start. Stace, how do you feel? Are you feeling stuck? Are you trusting in divine timing? I love putting you on the spot. How does this topic make you feel?
I feel like I am pushed into the space of vulnerability whenever we're on this podcast together. And it's unavoidable for me. And for those who tuned into our last episode, I kind of held back a little bit because I do feel like I'm in such a tender time and soul searching and trying to figure out next steps. And I don't know if I would say that I feel stuck per se, but I feel like I'm being faced with a major life altering decision. And I'm trying to navigate through the next steps. And so there are times where it feels like I'm stuck. I know that I'm not. I'm not stuck. Things are still moving forward. I'm still doing what I need to be doing. I do have a very strong self-care routine. And I'm showing up in all the ways, but there's part of me that feels like I'm waiting for an answer. Like I'm waiting for the sky to open up and the angels to start singing. And it's not happening right now for me. It's not. And there's a certain amount of frustration in the not knowing. And it's interesting because how often do we really know what's coming next? And how often do things actually turn out the way that we expect them to? For me, that's not often. And I feel like I am just on this precipice of this major decision. And for those who don't know, I've been in a very long distance relationship for the last 2 years. And I've been traveling back and forth, and he's been traveling to come see me. And I've been in the UK for the last 3 months. And I am getting ready to go back to the States. And there's no plan right now for next steps. There is no plan. I have no plan. I have no idea how to navigate this. And like I said, my self-care routine is really strong. I make sure that I show up for myself every day. I am an avid journaler. I've been getting physical exercise. I have been meditating and praying. So I feel like my self-care routine is there, but I feel like the answers aren't. And I'm sure that other people can relate to this. that, you feel like you're doing all the steps that you need to, and yet you still don't have the answers. And that can be a really frustrating place to be. But what do we do when we're in that space of waiting? Like, how do we navigate that? And for me, it has been super challenging because I feel torn between what is right for me, what feels right for me, and what other people expect of me. And I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but this season just feels super challenging. And I'm scared. I'm scared of making a decision that isn't aligned for my highest good. I am scared of letting other people down that have expectations of me. And I'm scared of the unknown. So I'm in this space where I just feel like I don't want to be driven by fear. And yet the fear is real. It's very real. And I don't know if I've ever faced such a big decision before. Like I've definitely faced decisions, big decisions, career decisions, family decisions, marital decisions, all of those things. But this one just feels so much bigger because it's about shifting my entire life. And I know when I feel peace. I'm very aware of when I feel peace. And I want to stay in that peaceful space. But I also know that there are other people who have expectations of me that don't align with what I feel is right for me. And I don't know if our listeners can relate to this, but there's just this churning happening with me right now. And I'm not quite sure what to do with it. And the season of waiting is super challenging. And I question myself, like, am I the one creating the waiting? Right? Like, am I the one? I don't like, am I just supposed to jump in? Like, am I supposed to jump in with a decision, not fully knowing? Or is there going to be a moment where I know completely what I'm supposed to do? And so I feel like I'm doing this like dance right now with the universe where I'm trying to be okay day to day until the answer comes to me. And yet I also feel like I'm pleading with the universe for an answer.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I mean, it's just, I'm sure that a lot of people can relate. Obviously, not the same situation, but can relate to, can you, when you talk about expectations, when you talk about getting answers, and, kind of, I feel that's a good summary of energetically where a lot of people are right now. And that is, in itself, that's what a reset, a rebirth looks like, right? There is, when you're in that cocoon, when you're in that gooey mess, but you're not fully reborn yet, there is that stagnant period, right? There is that stagnant phase where you're expecting answers. As you described it, Stacey, you're doing everything you can from a self-care routine, but you're not getting your answers. And a lot of the time it is your expectations of what the answers look like. But also sometimes, as you're saying, it's just, it is a trust fall. It is a trust fall. And, I know you're someone that's taken many trust falls, right? And it's just, what if we were not meant to know what's coming next? What if we get glimpses? I mean, we open lots of people's Akashic records, and The records give you a glimpse of what your soul's been through and what you're here to do, and it's a good way to gain some insights. But also, we're a soul having a human experience, so there's no bypassing the human experience. So, but it is a journey to shift from frustration to faith, right? Because that feeling of I'm doing everything I can, and I'm not getting any answers, and it is down to your expectations. So, how can we shift from that frustration of I really want to know, I can feel, because ultimately we can all feel the shift, right? We can feel the shift happening inside us. We feel what we're going through rebirth. We can feel the shift the planet's going through. But I just feel the shift the planet's going through now is something that we've never experienced to the level. And if the planet's going through a shift, it means that the shift that we're going through is again at a whole different level. There's something that we've not experienced. There's so many people going through some kind of reset, rebirth all at the same time, kind of gifts being activated. It does feel like a kind of like divinely timed in terms of whatever the planet's going through. And I do feel it's, again, easy for me to say, but somehow we need to have faith. And, Stacey, I can relate. I mean, there's frustration in me too. There's that, I felt for a while there's shifts happening inside me, around me. And it's just like, what does that look like? I know that things are changing. But for a while, I've felt like I've been in a holding pattern, right? Just, holding pattern like you're on a plane, waiting to land. And same as you, I've decided I'm not waiting for anything. I'm just going to keep pushing, keep showing up, keep pushing. But reframing what nothing is happening to everything is aligning. So when I say that to you, how does it feel when I say we need to reframe our feeling around it? And I didn't say thinking, by the way, I said feeling, because I do feel like we're shifting from I think to I feel. So when I say to you, we need to reframe from nothing is happening to everything is aligning, how does that, and kind of recognize that we are being prepared for something greater, and trusting that your soul knows the way, even if your mind doesn't. How does that resonate with you? Is that something that you feel aligned to? Is that something that, because again, it's words are easy, right? I can say, you know what, we need to reframe to everything is aligning. And I do feel like we're being prepared for something greater. And, I talk a lot about this. I feel like there's two parts of us, right? There's a spirit, the soul, that knows what's coming next and is fully ready. He's like running. Let's go. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't doesn't even need to know. There's a human, the ego part of us that's like, wait, stop. I need to know what's going on. Can we let go of this human and just trust in the soul and trust that everything is happening for a reason, and everything is going to come in divine timing? How does that make you feel?
I believe it. I believe that everything is aligning and is going to come together exactly as it's meant to, in exactly the way that it's meant to. I really do fully believe that. I am uncomfortable in the waiting for it to happen. Like I'm the type of person that I just want to rip the Band-Aid off. Like, okay, let's just make a decision. Let's just and in this particular season of my life, it's not happening that way. And so it's requiring of me a level of patience that I'm not used to having. Like it is really requiring me to hold space for myself in the not knowing. And gosh, it's uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable because I've just always been the kind of person like, okay, let's make a decision. What are we going to do? What feels right? Okay, let's do it. And with this particular situation, even if I wanted to do that, it's not working that way. it's something that I have to pace myself and take this decision. Okay, so what's next? And then this decision, and then this decision. And it it's just something that I never envisioned experiencing. Like I never pictured being in this season at this point in my life. I felt like at a certain point I would have it figured out and it would be ease and grace. Like I would hit a certain age and have the wisdom and the knowledge to move forward in a peaceful way, living my life and like having all the answers. And I've come to realize that's not the way that life works at all. There's not a certain point that you hit where you have all the answers. We're still having a human experience and things are going to unfold in the way they're going to. And I really believe it's what we do in the season of discomfort that really makes the difference, right? Like I could be sitting in it and letting myself feel it and letting it consume me, but I'm still living my life. I'm still finding a way to move forward. I'm still showing up in all the ways that I can. And I'm very, very prayerful. And I feel like that's another thing. Like, I believe that our angels and our guides and our higher power want us to lean into them even more during this time of uncertainty than we normally do. Like, really leaning into that faith that we are being watched over and protected and that everything has divine timing, even when we can't see it.
Yeah, that's the second part of what you just said. Even when we can't see it, and it is like I said, it feels like a time we've never experienced before. So we are being pushed, and it feels like it's been going on for a couple of years, but it feels like we're being pushed to trust more than we ever have been before. And it's the recognizing that we are going through a shift, and recognizing the planet's going through a shift, and knowing that everything is exactly how it should be. And that doesn't mean, as you talked about, that doesn't mean we sit there and do nothing, right? It does, it's having the self-care routine that Stacey talked about actually allows us to be more present, so we can recognize the shifts. We can recognize, because I feel like we get glimpses, right? I feel like we get little glimpses with the universe showing off, and kind of like just recognize. I mean, I'll give you an example. So we had the Zoom healing session last Thursday. And there was good attendance. We always get good attendance there. It's our way of giving back. And there was like 50, 60 people on, which is good for that type of session. So it went really well. Lots of good feedback. And it's just interesting. It's like I feel like my worlds are separate. There's the human life that I go through day to day, and there's the spiritual, the podcast, the mentorship, and most of my clients are in the US, so I don't get to meet a lot of my clients in person. So Friday, I just went to visit my sister. I was just on my way back, and I thought, you know what, just fancy something different. I want to reset, so I just thought, let me stop and grab a milkshake from an ice cream shop, and went in. It's mainly counter service, but they have some tables. There's like 10 people sitting there, and I just wasn't really thinking. I just was going to grab a milkshake and go home. It's quite late, so and by the way, it's okay to treat yourself occasionally, right? But out of the group, one of the guys stood up and said, hey, how you doing? I'm like, didn't recognize this guy, but I was like, hey, I'm good. How are you? And he's like, I was on your Zoom healing session last night. He's like, it was really good. I was like, wow. I was taken aback a bit because never met this guy, but he recognized me from what the Zoom that we did. I was like, oh, great. And then out of the group of 10, another four, like four ladies all stood up and said, oh yeah, we were on too. It was great. Just one of them I didn't recognize, but she'd got reading for me last year. And it was a little bit surreal. They were there taking pictures of me and just kind of like saying how great the session was. And just, it felt really surreal. And I felt the universe was showing off. And then the ladies behind the counter was asking me what's going on. And they wanted pictures too. I don't even know what was going on, but this is what I mean in terms of this phase. We do have to give space for the universe to show off, but it's our expectations that sometimes keep us stuck. And doing the self-care that Stacey was talking about is meeting the universe halfway and letting go of our expectations of whatever's coming next, but being ready for when it's here. Because this time of pausing, and not everyone's in the same state. I'm sure there may be some people listening say, well, I don't feel like I'm in a pause. I feel like I'm on go all the time, which is great. But I'm just saying, for a lot of people a lot of people I've been talking to can resonate with this conversation. So, but it's recognizing that the pauses are necessary. It's like we've gone through so many shifts, we've closed so many karmic cycles over this past period where, time's a human concept, whether you're talking just this year, whether you're talking 2024, whether you're talking since lockdown, whatever, we've just been going through a lot of shifting, a lot of deep ancestral work. And after that, there is a period of integration and deep healing, a period where we need to reset. And again, Stacey, I applaud you for your self-care routine. For me, that's stillness and surrender, being present, meditation, doing some physical activity, and just making sure I'm comfortable spending time with me is me preparing and me being ready for however the universe wants to show off. And it's not easy. As you say, as Stacey was saying, we're programmed to take action. We're programmed to kind of, if we're feeling stuck, to do something about it. And again, we're both saying, you sure do something about it, but that do something about it is having a strong self-care routine and really trusting in whatever's coming next. And as much as possible, letting go of the expectations of what it's going to look like. Is that, we don't, for many of us, our careers could change over the coming months. What we do on a day-to-day basis, the relationships we have in our life, so many soul contracts that come to an end. So it's that, and change is, a lot of people say we love change, but as humans, we love a routine. That's how we build. And we love change. A lot of us love change, but when we can see it coming, when we know what it's looked like. But the unknown change of not knowing what's coming next is uncomfortable. I mean, look at what's happening on the planet, all the wars, all the politics, and so much is happening that couldn't have been predicted. So that unknown makes you also feel uncomfortable. So I know what I've chosen to do, and that is I'm just going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep showing up in whatever way I can, whether it's the podcast. And I know I'm trying to show up so much more on social media. I know I've given opportunities sometimes just to kind of show up for people, and I'll keep doing that. So my deal with God and the universe is I'm just going to keep showing up. And whatever that means, I'm going to keep showing up for me. I'm going to take time out for me. I'm going to make sure that I spend time with my loved ones. I'm going to make sure that I do some self-care. Keep showing up and doing things like the podcast, like the monthly Zoom, showing up for my clients on the mentorship, the Akashic record reading, and just trust whatever's coming next. Stace, my life isn't. You're obviously going a massive shift about even deciding what country you're going to live in. That's another whole level of shift and a whole level of change. But whatever change people are going through, whatever shift you're going through, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your home life, whether it's thinking about changing, moving homes, changing countries, it's that I really do feel like it's a time for us to integrate all the shifts that we've been through. And the shifts that we've been through aren't always visible. Sometimes a lot of them are like soul contracts coming to an end, karmic release. So we do sometimes our physical body does need to catch up. So what's your deal with God, Stacey, right now in terms of this phase? How are you, apart from the self-care routine, how are you making sure that you're open to whatever magic the universe has for you and trying to make sure that your expectations of what the future looks like doesn't keep you binded? Just curious.
So I really feel like a huge part of it is the self-care routine, which we've talked about, right? And making sure that we're showing up for ourselves. But I also think it's about being present and in the moment and recognizing that we are being watched over and that things will unfold in the way that they're meant to. I think a lot of times we feel like we have more control than we actually do. And when I think about it, you know, I was talking with a friend the other day about like the process with my son and what I went through with him and how we're approaching the 6-year anniversary. And there's a lot of pain still for me around this time of year when I have to kind of think back to what happened. And for those listeners who are new to the podcast, my son just plummeted into issues with mental health and substance abuse, and he attempted to take his own life. And it rocked my world. My whole life fell apart from there. And there's part of me that is still really hurt by what happened. And yet I would not be sitting here on this podcast had that not happened. I wouldn't know you, Nimesh. I wouldn't be in the UK. I wouldn't be having the experiences that I'm having now. I wouldn't be with my partner. So there are all of these beautiful things that have unfolded out of a season of unknown and a season of pain. And there's part of me that just believes that I'm being guided by a power greater than myself. And that if I allow my higher power to show off, like they will. And I believe as humans, we think that we have more control than what we actually do. I mean, who would think a couple of years ago that I would be sitting here in the UK for 3 months? Who would have thought that I would be embarking on this journey outside of the US, having all of these crazy experiences and seeing different places and experiencing different people and different things than I ever could have anticipated. And so as I sit here processing this, I recognize that there's a huge part of this that has to do with faith and believing that I'm being guided to exactly where I'm meant to be, even when I can't see it.
There's so much power in those words, Stacey, in terms of being guided. this really is a period where we have to trust our intuition, trust the messages we're receiving, because I feel like we are getting the message of maybe to trust. And like I was saying earlier, there is a disconnect between our spiritual self that really feels and knows that it's worked lifetimes to be here and is ready for whatever's coming next and is excited, and the human self knows the shift is happening like never nothing before, and again is uncomfortable with it. Knowing that is power, right? There's a kind of just accepting and trusting in divine timing, but making sure that we're ready for it. But it's also, you get a great example. Go back and look at the last time you had a major shift. You could sit there and Stacey, you could sit there and use your example, sit there with the pain of what you went through with your son. But at the same time, you recognize how much you grew and what you gained from that pain. And it's just, sure, maybe that's a good thing for our listeners to do, is go back and just look at whatever your most painful experiences was, and instead of sitting through the pain, asking, what did I learn from it? Because this is a trustful. We've talked about it, right? This whole episode could also be called Trusting the Trustful, right? Because it is an energetic reset period. And embracing the stillness and surrender to divine timing is also important. But it's that you can only recognize your messages from your intuition, your guides, if you have that self-care routine and you're listening. And again, a lot of people will say, well, I don't have guides, I don't get messages. I really believe we all have guides. And the way I'd recommend you start listening to your messages is just trusting your intuition and switching from I think to I feel. And really, it's like when you're thinking about taking an action, what's the difference between aligned actions and forcing outcomes? Sitting with whatever action you think you're thinking about taking, and really asking, how do I feel about it? Am I forcing it? Or is it aligned? Trust your intuition. There's no right or wrong, but trust your intuition. I also feel like that we're getting more messages than ever before, so trust the intuitive nudges. I mean, the simple example I gave in the ice cream shop is, there's a part of me just wanted to go home, right? And I could have just spoken to this one guy and walked away, but for some reason I just stayed and had this long conversation, which was beautiful. It was such a beautiful, in my head, I was like, most of my clients in the US, and, just meeting 5 people randomly that I've never met before in person who appreciated what I'm doing was, for me, a sign and a nudge from the universe that I am heading the right direction, to keep going, even though I feel like maybe I should be doing more, or this human stuff, or, maybe this, that, whatever. But for me, that was a nudge from the universe to say, keep going, keep showing up. Don't worry about what that looks like, or, I should be doing more, or whatever these human stuff that happens in our heads. It's just to keep doing the self-care, keep showing up in whatever way you need to, and trust in divine timing. And also ask, what message are you receiving? What nudges are you getting from your guides? Because, ultimately, I love the phrase, and whether you call it God, whether you call it source, God's delays are not God's denials. So sometimes you're being prepared for something bigger. What if whatever you're being prepared for is so much bigger than you could imagine? Feeling stuck sometimes is exactly where you need to be. Because what if the universe is getting ready, is preparing behind the scenes for whatever's coming next? And what if whatever the planet's going through is aligned with your shift? What if you could trust and lead into the pause and trust in whatever's coming next? Because sometimes it's our frustration, it's our expectations. Stacey talked about it. It's our expectations of what's coming next and what it looks like that can be frustrating. It's like, even for those watching on YouTube, I'm seeing Stacey. When we started, the lighting with Radia was great, and it's just like through it, the sun started shining, and it's kind of like just coming over her face. But there's a bit that just I feel like the universe has jokes, and I feel like the universe is, and our guides are having fun. But it's a co-creation, right? What if this phase doesn't have to be so serious? What if we can have fun with the guides? I kind of get the feeling that Stacey's guides are messing with her with the sun, and it's cool, right? I'm just watching and smiling, and but I get it. This pause can be so frustrating. But what if it's what you need? What if it's just you've been going through so many shifts that your guides, the universe, just wants you to just pause for a minute, pause, integrate all the shifts, and just rest up, because whatever's coming next is going to be a roller coaster. And what if it's going to be magical? But magical in ways that you don't expect. Because sometimes we wait for this big epiphany in the sky, right? This big things of how we expected things to look like. And when it doesn't come that way, we get frustrated. But what if we're getting small bits of epiphanies, small bits of magic that when you add it all together is so much bigger than we could have even imagined? So Stacey, are you ready for that, for the big shift? Are you ready for whatever's coming next, and truly letting go and being open to it looking like something totally different than maybe you imagined? How does that feel to you?
Scary. It feels really scary, but I'm here for it, and I'm just trying to be really open right now to whatever the universe has for me and whatever that's going to look like. And I think there's so much power in prayer, in however you communicate with your soul family. For me, it's prayer. I think there's so much power in that connection and allowing ourselves the space to really lean into our angels and our guides, and trusting that we are going to be placed exactly where we're meant to be. We're going to be probably in an even better situation than we could have anticipated if we're willing to trust. And for me, it's so funny because I always talk to clients about, there is no right or wrong decision. There's just a different outcome. And then I sit here and I'm like, I just want to make the right decision. But I want to do what is for my highest good versus what comes easy.
Interesting. It's I agree with what you're saying on praying. I for me, and a lot of people would always say that praying is asking for what you want, meditation is listening. So I would I would do both. And again, whatever resonates with you, right? It's just but yeah, the way that says, it is a scary period, but it could also be really exciting. What if, as we were saying, what if whatever's coming next is so much, and who decides what's better or worse? I'm using my language carefully, but what if your next breakthrough is forming, and it's just, instead of resisting, you rode the wave, you decided, I'm going to have a really strong self-care routine, but I'm also going to have fun. I'm going to allow the universe to show off, and just, what if you leaned and trusted into the pause, and just trusted what's unfolding, but make a commitment to really look at your self-care routine, but also listen to your intuition. That for me is so important right now, is listening to your guides. And whether you can, it's like sometimes, again, a lot of people get frustrated because they can't see their guides, or they don't know the names of the guides. What if you're not meant to know the names? What if you're not meant to see? What if your gift is hearing, feeling? Start with feeling. What do you feel around you? What's your intuition telling you about this period? And then from there, what if this period can be fun? What if we're not always meant to be on the go, and sometimes it's okay to take a pause? Says thank you. You're always so vulnerable and you always share. So thank you for being you. And as we close out this episode, if you got any final bits of wisdom, any general prompts that you have in your heart, I'm going to hand over to you.
Friends, I just encourage you to trust the process and trust that even when it feels like things aren't moving forward, they are. You're just impatient. So pace yourself and allow yourself the space to be introspective. The power of journaling is so significant. I encourage you to take some time to write. What are you waiting for? Maybe write about that. What do you feel like you're waiting for? And what are you doing in the waiting? How are you navigating life while you have so much unknown? I know for me, there has been great power in daily journaling. I've really been leaning into it. Prayer and meditation have also been powerful for me, and I encourage you to do the same in whatever way resonates with you. And really take the time to get still with yourself and trust that things are unfolding exactly as they're meant to.
Love it. Trust. I couldn't agree with you more. And I'll leave you one thought, and it's something I said earlier. I know one phrase that has helped me a lot through this phase. That is, as I said earlier, God's delays are not God's denials. And whether you want to change God to source, guides, whatever works for you. But just remember that whatever's meant for you will find you. And your taking action is just exactly what Stacey said: journaling, meditation, praying, self-care routine. That's your meeting the universe halfway. But then trusting whatever is for you, as long as you're showing up for you, trust that whatever's for you will find you. Sending so much love and light out to everybody. There's just so much going on right now. Ride the wave and trust. Thank you for allowing us to guide you. Stacey, I know you're going through lots of shifts. Again, thank you for sharing so vulnerably. Stacey, for you as an example, it's sometimes so much easier to see in somebody else. And I've been saying to you for months, your breakthrough is going to come in whatever form it may come in, something different. It's just a feeling. And so thank you for sharing. What I feel for you is also what I feel for me. I feel the shift in me, and I trust whatever's coming next. If we can help you, if something we said today resonates, please reach out, send us a DM. We love receiving those messages. Maybe booking an Akashic record reading gives you the insight. Maybe that helps for sure. For me, that's a soul contract, and we're meant to give you insight into your soul's journey. Or maybe you're ready for mentorship. Mentorship is such a beautiful way of understanding your journey. And again, for me, whoever signs up for mentorship with us, it's a soul contract. We were meant to work together. We were meant to guide you on your journey. We have a beautiful phase 2 where we guide people to become spiritual mentors as a business. And all in all, it's a 6-month program. But yeah, if anything resonates, reach out. We love you very, very much. We're sending you the biggest hug, sending so much love and light out. Thank you for listening to us, and bye for now.